Hey everybody, this is Dave with DavidClarkPhotography.com. Today we're going to talk about ISO. What is ISO? Well, you're in a situation, and let me just kind of pose this for you. Let's say you're indoors, you don't have a flash on your camera, you have a 50 millimeter 1.4. You're able, in most cases, you're able to get some pretty good shots indoors without a flash. But in this situation, it's really, really, really dark, and you want to still get that image, that picture. And like I said, you don't have a flash, so you're kind of stuck. So in this situation, you're going to need to first off drop your shutter speed down to a sixtieth of a second. That's the only thing you can do handheld. And if it's someone that's you're taking a picture of a person, hopefully they'll stay still enough for you to get it at 60th of a second. So you drop it to a 60th of a second. You open up that aperture down to f1.4. And then if you still don't have the correct exposure, that's when you're going to have to raise your ISO. ISO should always be the last thing that you raise. Well, I shouldn't say it should always be. You should consider it last when you're dealing with situations. Sometimes ISO now, with the cameras today, they're very, very, you can raise your ISO and still get a really good image. So you want to use it last, but you can always get away with certain ISO levels. So if you raise it to ISO 400, you can get away with that. You won't have any problems at all. ISO 800, no problems. ISO 1600, you might see a little bit of grain. ISO 3200, and this is most cameras now. Most cameras, they're pretty much the same. Like I had stated before, APS-C size sensors work fine, full frame. The larger the sensor, the better quality you're going to get raising the ISO. So let's say your APS-C size sensor, you raise it up to 3200, you should be fine with that. So that's what you do. You raise it up. And what ISO is, it's artificial light. So you're adding artificial light to your image, and that will get you the exposure that you're looking for in most cases. If you don't have a flash, you can raise it up and get that. So that's what ISO is. It's artificial light. If you start raising it higher than 3200, 6400, you're really getting to a point where you're going to need to have some pretty good noise reduction software in order to work with that and get you still a good image. I usually go to 3200 and I'll shoot at that high, but if I have to go even higher than that, then I'm going to need a flash or I'm going to need something else. So when it comes down to it, that's what ISO is. ISO is artificial light. Work with the other two first. Work with your aperture, work with your shutter speed, and then if you have to, then open up that ISO and use the ISO and try to get the correct exposure there. I would even raise my ISO to 800 and then bump the shutter speed up a little bit faster. Maybe bump it up to an 80th of a second or a 100th of a second. Just because a 60th of a second is, I mean, that's borderline. So if they move a little bit, they're gonna be out of focus. So I would rather raise my ISO to 800. I know it's clean. It'll still be a clean image. Raise it up to 800 and then raise that shutter speed up as well. So you can play around. It's kind of a game. You have these three little things that you can kind of play around with to get the correct or get an image that you're happy with. So that's what ISO is. It's artificial light. It will add noise to images, like I said, if you raise it high enough. But you can always work on noise reduction software in Lightroom and things like that. It will still give you a really good image. So that's all I have for you guys today. Please comment, rate, subscribe. If you have any questions, post them below. I am planning on another series of videos where I'm going to start answering questions that you post. You guys have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Bye.